Howdy ESSM 406. This is lecture number 6. What is a peer review article? In your assignments, I'm going to request that you use peer-reviewed articles as your sources of information in your memos. So, what does peer review mean and how does it work? Well, this really relates back to our last lecture and being very critical of information we use to gather evidence on. So what is a peer-reviewed article and how is it different from other sources of information? Well, it's really important to understand that the majority of sources of information out in the world is not fact-checked. Some very good newspapers like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, they have fact-checkers. And occasionally some high-end magazines will have fact-checkers. And you will know because they'll print corrections and they'll talk about their sources. Books are usually not fact-checked, and neither are most other sources of information you're going to read on the internet. So what makes peer review distinct is that this information is usually a research paper that is reviewed by other scientists or researchers that are studying the same topic. So, for example, I want to publish a piece of research on perhaps mountain gorillas in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the viability of the forests there. So what I would do is I would do my research, write it up in an academic paper, and submit it to an academic journal. So these papers are usually about 20 to 30 pages, and it's like a specific research topic, and usually it's pretty concise. Once I send that peer-reviewed article or that article into an academic journal, an editor receives it, reads it, decides whether the topic is appropriate for that journal, and then looks for other people that are studying that same topic who would be experts in that field. Then the editor sends it out to about at least three other scientists to have them review it. And they will go through it. They look at the facts, at the ideas, even grammar, ideas, the spelling, how well it's written, looking at the methodological processes that were used in writing the paper. And then they basically have 4 options to provide back to the editor. And those include rejection. They won't publish it. And this is the most common thing. Really about 80 to 90% of research is rejected from the journals that they're submitted to. And for like a high quality journal like Nature or Science, less than 1% of all articles that are sent in are actually accepted. So rejection is sort of the norm. Sometimes a reviewer will look at it and say, well, we think there's some good ideas, but boy, there's some major revisions that need to be made here. It's poorly written. These are some changes that need to be made. The methodology wasn't the correct one. The analysis isn't well structured or thought out. And the reviewer will send it back to the editor with these requirements that need to be done to the paper before they will publish it. A third option is that they'll recommend with minor revisions. And this is not as common. And the final option is that they would accept it with no changes. And this almost never happens. Most times when a scientist, even though you are spending so much time on this is your profession, the majority of the times you will have your paper rejected and you will be asked to, or it's accepted with the major revisions, and you have to go through it and make the corrections that the editor and these reviewers are giving you. And so journals, they really want to ensure high quality. And so they get a lot of prestige by publishing these new, exciting, well-presented and well-written works. And so that's why there's this very iterative process between you and the editor to make your article the best it can be. Now, you're going to have the chance to understand some of this process with a program that I'm implementing this year called Peerceptive. So you're going to get the chance to read your peers in your class, read their papers, and provide feedback to them on their writing, on their ideas, how well they're presenting, and then you also get to get that back on your paper. So you get to see what everyone in the class is understanding about your paper. You'll also have me or one of the teaching assistants read your paper to give you additional feedback. So we really want to get you this exact same sort of experience that scientists that are working around the world receive. And I'll have another lecture about that. But first of all, you need to know you're at Texas A&M. We have one of the best libraries in the world. These journal articles, there's an open access journal article, which the author actually pays to have their article published, or the other types of journal articles are typically just accepted and the readers have to pay for it. So if you've ever Googled something and you'll say, hey, this paper is $37 for you to download and read, you're really lucky. Texas A&M, the library pays for all this. So you have access to an amazing amount of really high quality peer-reviewed journal articles that you can use for when you're writing your memos. So that's it for this lecture. The next lecture will be about how do you find a really good peer-reviewed article to use for your memo. And then after that, I will teach you a little bit about the Peerceptive program and your participation in that for the class.